Very nice.
Okay, nice. So, hello and welcome to the second episode of the Wintercast live stream. My name is Jörg from Winterworks, and with me are Abdu, Toby, and Anna. And
Hello.
say hello to everyone.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about game development, especially about games developed by Winterworks. And we're trying to answer questions while they arise during the stream. And we announced a special guest, Jan Rathje, who did all the artwork for the Winterworks Kids games. Unfortunately, he's not here yet. I hope he will be joining us later. But until then, we will start with something else then. So let's see how many people are watching. Where was this? I don't know where you could see this. Here's the chat. Okay. Ah, Jan is calling right now, so I can do a live talk. Sorry. Hi, Jan. Okay. Okay. Wie sieht es bei dir aus zeitlich? Passt es bei dir mit dem Stream? Okay. Ich habe dich in den Team-Channel in Discord mal geaddet. Und da gibt es einen Link, weil wir sind jetzt gerade eben live gegangen. Nee, 16 Uhr. Ja, keine Panik. Also wenn es dir nicht reicht, dann verschieben wir es auf nächstes Mal. Okay, dann klick den Link. Ja. Okay. Ich schicke dir den Link per E-Mail, ja. Ja, alles klar, bis gleich. Ciao. Okay, sorry, was some miscommunication. Jan thought that the stream is in the evening, but he'll try to join us in a couple of minutes. I just have to write him the link via email. And then we can start. All right. Okay. Yes. So people are arriving. Hi. Yes, another epic moment. Hello. And the last time we talked about a lot of stuff regarding the Blue Kit games from the first to the third game. And this time, like I promised, I will show you a glimpse of the new artwork. I did not find as much time as I would have wanted to work on the new stuff, but I'll show you a picture later with the current progress, and I'll explain some things that I started explaining last time when it comes to the typically tiled-based look that you have in the retro games, and another approach that sort of breaks the tiled look a bit and makes up the way for a lot of variations that you can do with, especially with the trees that I'm going to show you later. And so, yeah. Hurricane is awesome. Yeah, thank you. Yes, we've been talking about Hurricane as well. There are currently no official news on Hurricane yet, but maybe soon. And okay, since I don't know when Jan will arrive, maybe I can, how do you say it in English? Leave the cat out of the bag. I don't know if you say this in English. I am going to show you a picture. I just have to enable screen sharing here. Yes. Okay. I'm afraid it's not working at the moment because I need to restart Chrome to enable screen sharing. I'm going to do later. Okay, I'm not able to do it later. I'm not able to do anything right now. Okay, maybe I can use another approach. Yes, I also want the Hurricane too. And whenever there's a possibility to do it, I'm going to do it. But not at the moment, unfortunately. Let me check. It's working. Can you see my screen with the
yes.
endless effect? Okay. All right. So where is it? Here it is. It's called Tada. And here you have. Wait a second. There's no OpenView for Mac OS, which is my preferred image viewer. Finally, there it is. Can I zoom this in? Yeah. Okay, so let me explain a bit what you see here. You already know the character, and you know the clouds in the background and the sky background, stuff like that. But I've been totally reworking the trees. Maybe there's another picture that shows this in a better way. On the left, you see the old tree. How do you zoom? So, which was basically made out of tiles, single tiles, that you could repeatedly place, and then you always get these straight lines. There were pieces with 45 degrees angles and with 22.5 angles. So you could do an approximate round tree, but you always have the kind of blocky look, unless you don't really do hundreds of tile variations. And it's also very difficult to place this in an editor, because it's a lot of work regarding what kind of shape you want for the tree. So I thought of another approach, which you can see on the right, where the tree of the trunk of the tree is still made out of tiles that you can place seamlessly on top of another, but the leaves are made out of separate little objects that you can place freely. I don't have a level editor at the moment where you can place objects. I'm working on this. So I'm going to show you how I did this in the sprite editor I'm using. But you can already see that there are bushes made out of leaves that are used repeatedly on the tree. And you can mirror them, you can place them on certain positions, and then you can basically create all types of trees that you want. Another benefit would be that you can later, since they are objects, you can animate them or you can move them a bit. If there's wind in the level or something, you can move all the objects, and it looks like the leaves in the tree are moving. So here's what I did. This is the picture I showed you, and this is made up of objects. This is the sprite editor, by the way, which is at the moment my sprite editor of choice, because it has a lot of useful features. There are still some features missing, but it's done by only one person, and he does an amazing job creating this product. So if you want to start with pixel artwork, then consider using sprite and consider buying the full version. It's quite cheap, but it's a very powerful sprite editor. So here you have all the leaves that I used. Sorry, that's the old one, to compose the tree. So on the right here, you can see the finished image, like in the picture I showed you. And to the left, you can see the small bushes I used to create the tree. And everything you need to do now, as I told you, this is the sprite editor, so I can only edit in image. But later in the game editor, you pick an object, and then you can move it around freely, and you place it somewhere on the tree, and then you have the object right there. And by using this, you can create all types of trees. So this is the one thing. This is how I'm going to break up the tile-based look a bit. I'm still using tiles for the ground or for houses and stuff like that. But in the case of the tree, it just it makes the things look more, or it makes it look less less blocky, and you don't have so many repetitions. And another thing that you can see in the picture is that, I don't know if you've already noticed it, but the character has an outline now. I was thinking about this for quite some time, because there are different approaches how you can do pixel artwork or artwork in general. And my first approach on the left was that I don't use an outline, but this looks quite cool on screenshots. But like I told you in the past, there are a lot of games that look really awesome on screenshots, but when you see the game in motion, then it's sometimes a bit difficult to judge whether something belongs to the background or if it belongs to the foreground. And if the background gets too noisy, it's difficult especially in a platforming game where you need precise jumps and you need to tell without really taking a look at it where you can stand on and which parts are part of the ground and what is background. Then it gets quite difficult if you don't have a direct separation between background and foreground. And so I took the approach with the outline so that later in the game, all objects that you can interact with have this sort of outline around it. You can see that the outline is not everywhere because at the parts of the sprite where you already have some dark colors, I don't use the outline because otherwise the sprite might get too big or too fat or something like that. So I hope you see the difference between the rest stays the same. And the same thing goes for the background, because what I did here on the right picture, the bushes that you see in the background with the slightly blue coloring, they are the same objects that I used for the tree, but they only with just some small color adjustments, because I'm going to use some shader effects for the sprite rendering where you can directly manipulate the colors and the saturation and the contrast of sprites when they are rendered. So you can reuse a lot of graphics. You can put the same tree that you can see here in the foreground, put it in the background, do some color adjustments, put it on a parallax layer where it gets another scrolling speed, and then you have a nice colored background with the same graphic assets as before. So this reduces the amount of work I need to create all the background artwork. I just have to check if Jan is online already.
Jörg, we have one question.
Yes.
People are asking, what is the name of the first level?
The first level in the game. Jan is here. I just need to activate him. Hi, Jan.
Hi.
I'm just going to answer one of the questions, and then we're switching to Jan. Like I told you before, the game is going to feature some sort of hub level, or hub levels to be exact, where you run around and visit all the sub levels. And of course, Green Hills might return, but I'm not done with the naming for all of the stuff in the game. Some of you might remember that the enemies in the game, they don't really have names. Some of them have names that users gave them. Some of them have names that are mentioned in the game. But the whole universe of the game is not 100% designed to yet. So you can think of the third game as some sort of a reboot, because I'm going to use names in the third game that will remain that way for the next games. So yeah. Okay, so I hope the question is answered so far. And we'll return to the new look later, but now, since Jan has finally joined us, I will stop the screen share, and here I am again, and then I'll just show you how Jan looks. Toby, if you disable your camera. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so welcome Jan Rathje, the well-known artist who created.
Nice to meet you.
Yes. And Jan is a former colleague of me, and we've been working together for over 15 years now. And yeah, Jan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I could. I'm only here to entertain you with my pidgin English. So be kind to me, because my English is not very good. My name is Jan Rathje, and I'm a media educator and an illustrator. And I would like to show you a PowerPoint, if that is possible.
Sure.
Is it?
I think so. Do you know how to share your screen?
Yes, with the button share screen, I suppose.
Yes, go on.
And then I try to show you the PowerPoint. One moment. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, another moment. So, do you see my whole screen?
No, not yet. Maybe I need to enable it for you that you can share it. Okay, there it is. Yes.
Okay. Does it fit the whole screen?
Yes.
Okay, then we are right. As I said, my name is Jan Rathje and I'm a diploma designer. I studied, but I didn't learn anything within the study, but I worked for a company called Neon and got into computer games. And I did a lot of computer games, 60 plus games. I think this is about 69 at the moment. And I graduated at the Academy for Children's Media. That means I write stories for children. And I skipped the last words. And sorry to introduce me so abrupt, but this was something I showed some people who studied game engineering or study game engineering in Kempten last week. So I already had this PowerPoint ready. This is me, and I started because I liked stories, and I liked stories in comics, particularly. But this changed because the media changed. At the age of 4, here, as you see me,
Sorry, Jan. I'm still seeing the first page.
Okay.
Do you have 2 monitors?
No, I only have 1.
Okay. Yes. Now
maybe, with a PowerPoint surface. Okay. This is me, and I'm reading comic books. And after I read comic books, I began to play. And I began to play card games, board games, got into role-playing games. And with this role-playing games, I started to draw. And I like to draw my whole life. But with this role-playing games, I did draw some characters and some monsters. And in school, I was known for drawing monsters all the time on tables and walls, and wherever I was, there were small monsters. And this is me in the 80s. This is how everybody looked.
Do you still have the comic that we see on the left?
Yes, I still have the comics.
Okay, nice. If you have scans of it on it, you can post it on our Discord channel in the showcase channel.
Yeah, maybe because these were my first comics, and they are not that perfect.
Yeah, but they look really, really nice, at least at that resolution.
Yes, it's the resolution. And at the moment, I skip some 40 years, and at the moment, I'm drawing and I'm writing as well. As a media educator, and sometimes I can combine both abilities. So I work for a magazine for children called GeoMini, and I'm writing a book, How to Educate Children with Digital Media. And for some companies, I do some drawings as well. But my first game was a game called Vanishing Powers for Ocean 1992. And I was able to design nearly everything for the game. And this was what you now call a AAA title. And it began just by meeting someone I knew from school in the city. And he told me that he has founded a small company and now is producing some games. And he knew that I was doing this fantasy comics, so he invited me to join. And so I designed a lot of characters, monsters, stories. But sadly, the game never came out because Ocean said it was the time then, I think 1993 or 4, that Diablo came out, the first Diablo. And Ocean said, okay, we like this Diablo game and it looks similar to yours, but your story sucks, so we will not publish yours. But the good thing was that our pictures were published in some magazines like The Edge, and The Edge was the magazine for computer gaming at the time. So this was, the first contract I signed and my first big game that never came out.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jan. The picture on the upper left, is that Boris on the left?
Yeah, this is Boris Triebel. Yeah.
Boris Triebel. And then is it Mark Hamrad with the long hair?
No, this is Peter.
Peter Tierolf.
Peter Tierolf, yes.
Okay, wow, nice.
And then there's Jan Jöcke. And on the right is Toon. His nickname is Toon.
Yeah.
And Chris, I forgot his real name, but his nickname was
Christolakis? No.
Christolakis is his second name.
Yeah. And Anthony or something?
Anthony. It was Anthony. Sorry, Anthony, if you're watching.
Okay, so just one more word regarding Neon, because if you don't know the story behind it, maybe you don't really get the point. Neon was one of the very first companies in Germany that was working on console games back then, or that got a publishing deal from Ocean, for example, or was working for Ocean. Nowadays, there are a lot of companies, and a lot of companies are doing mobile games. But in the 90s, it was extremely difficult to produce AAA games in Germany, and Neon was one of the very few companies who achieved this. So they were really, really, really ahead of their time. And a lot of the people on the picture, especially Peter Tierolf, you might know him from the Turrican 3 game. He created Turrican 3 for Amiga. So Neon was really, really ahead of its time. So just, I don't know if you wanted to mention this as well, Jan. Sorry if you wanted to.
No, you can interrupt me anytime.
Okay.
And tell the stories.
So they were not only some indie devs or hobby developers. They were one of the very few really serious game development companies in Germany back then.
Yes, and they published Tunnel B1 on the PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
And there were, at this time, I joined the company, there were 2 really big projects, and one is Vanished Powers, but Vanished Powers vanished with the time, and Tunnel B1 got published.
And they also did The Legend of K. If someone knows this.
Maybe I have a picture of Legend of K. Yeah, it will follow. Yeah, because this was, the best job I ever had, Legend of K, because they only told me, think of some stories and do some kung fu movement and we'll pay you. That was the whole contract. And in our days, the contracts are a little bit longer.
Okay, maybe we need to do some kung fu themed kids game in the future.
Yes, I would like to. Yes, but before Legend of K, I joined some smaller companies like Escape, and Escape did some touchscreen games. The first touchscreen games in Germany with a company called Gauselmann. Gauselmann are Merkur Spielotheken, and they put up these, on the left side you see this machine called Happy Touch, a strange name, but we had no influence on it. So they put up this Happy Touch in, what do you call it? In arcades, and in pubs. There are smaller ones for pubs. And I designed all the games, nearly all the games on it. But that was no big deal because most of them were card games like Skat or Solitaire. But sometimes I had the chance to work, for example, with Uderzo and his company, Asterix. You see in the middle, and I could tell all the people there what to draw, what I wanted to see. And I was studying, and I was a kind of art director. And yeah, I thought, yeah, I didn't earn that much money, but it was a really great time because we had a lot of jobs, and sometimes we had to finish a game in a week or so, and then the next one came up.
Oh.
And I never had to do any advertisement because people asked me if I could join them for their game. And this was again via Neon. And yes, they had some Game Boy Advance jobs. And they asked me, on the left side is Pumuckl. And I was asked to do the whole graphics for Pumuckl. And that was the first time I did some pixel graphics. But I liked it very much because as one person, you could design the whole graphics for one game. And that was great. And they were produced within 3 months. So it was a very short production time.
Okay, for those who are not familiar with Pumuckl, Pumuckl is a German character which is very popular, or which was very popular in the 80s and 90s. Even earlier in the 70s, I think.
Yeah, I think so too, in the 70s.
Yeah, it's not Donald Duck or Mickey Mouse, but it was really very popular. There were TV shows and
a lot of books.
And Hörbuch. What's Hörbuch in English?
Audiobook.
Yes,
audiobook.
So it's just another proof that. Jan also worked on really, how do you say it in English? High profile or popular.
For the German market, they were popular, but I think no one outside Germany knows Pumuckl.
Yeah, that's right. I just want to say that there were really very few people who even worked in the gaming industry back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody knew everyone. So. Then some guy I never met from East Germany saw my work on the Game Boy Color and asked me to do some things. The company was called Cosmigo, and I was asked to do some animations for Powerpuff Girls.
Jan, is it Jan Zimmermann, Cosmigo?
No.
Is Cosmigo the company who is creating the promotion sprite editor?
Yeah, he was, but I never met him. I never spoke to him because he was, a little kind of strange because he, luckily I forgot his name. So, but I can tell you that he never wanted to telephone. He only wanted to write emails. Okay. And it was a little bit strange, but the projects were great. Like the Powerpuff Girls.
Okay, it might be that, or at least what I remember is that Cosmigo is also only a one-man company, and if it is the guy that I have in mind, then he is called Jan Zimmermann, and he is one of the reasons why I started programming as a child. One reason was the Turrican game on the Commodore 64, like I mentioned last time, and another reason was Jan Zimmermann, who was he was kind of an indie developer back then in the 90s who created games for the Commodore 64, and they were sold on disc magazines, which I bought as a child. And then I thought, okay, if someone like Jan Zimmermann and people like Manfred Renz can create games from home on the same hardware that I have at home on a Commodore 64, then I can do this as well. And this was the reason why I really started creating games on my Commodore 64. So there's a really nice circle here. Yeah, so the world is really small.
Yeah, especially in Germany.
Yeah, in the German game development scene.
And I think this was a game we worked on together.
Yes, it was the game where we placed a tank inside the prototype, and the publisher saw it, and he was not very amused.
Yes, and I was given the title of the art director, and later I found out that there were several art directors working on that game. So I was only, the art director for the overall pink look and all the animals. And I did some texturing in this game as well. But do you have any other funny memories about the kind of this game?
I only know that there was a guy working on the game who was just called Shunki. There are a lot of interesting people working in the game industry. And the funny thing is that when you take a look at this product, the Tier Clinic, which is an animal hospital, this is the kind of games that that I worked on in the past. It's yes, it is a game, but it's not a game that you're particularly proud of when you participated on making the game. It's a solid product, but it's not a game that I would play myself. It's a game aimed at small girls, and so the games that you worked on before, Jan, they were much more interesting because they were more interesting or better known franchises or jump run games, whatever.
Well, you don't know who's watching now, because when I'm at school as a media educator and tell children how to use media properly so they don't get into trouble, then I sometimes talk about my projects. And there are some girls who would really like to play Tier Clinic.
Of course. I'm not talking about the games in general. I'm just talking about myself. When I worked on this kind of game, I was not satisfied. I would have liked to work on a new Turrican game or something like that at the time. But I'm creating kids games as well now, which is very, very fun. But just to show the difference between Legend of K and Meine Tierklinik, these are two typical, totally different kinds of games.
Yeah, on the other side, they are very similar because it's about storytelling and it's about how to tell a story, even if you don't like the story. So you have to think of it, how to tell it in a adventurous way, so that people don't get bored. So but more interesting was the Legend of K, and sadly I don't have the videos I made for them, because on Vanishing Powers I worked with a system called Flock of Seagulls, and that was a motion capturing system with wires hanging from the ceiling. And in Legend of K, I did some motion capturing only with video. So it was a layer in 3D Max, and people then started to sculpt to animate the figures over the video. So this was a completely different approach to motion capturing.
Okay, interesting.
And my first sketches I did for the story were very rough, and I had the idea of that tiger running around in a Chinese city having a master who tells them who told them him all the tricks in Kung Fu, but I was replaced by someone who worked at Disney before, and you can see the difference. So, he was a little bit more profound in drawing, and I have to say that I didn't learn how to draw. I just did drawings, and even while studying graphic design, we only had one drawing course, and this was drawing from reality. So everything I did, I invented in my style, but I was not zufrieden?
Satisfied.
Sorry, I was not satisfied with it. So for one project, I changed my style, and this was the project Colorelli. And Colorelli is a game for kids using a Wacom tablet. And it's from 2006. And this project was great because I was asked to literally design everything. It is a kind of GTA for kids. And there is this chameleon, this gray chameleon, who sucks all the color out of the world. And you have to save the world and colorize it with some mini games and with your cars. So I had to design the characters. Then the cars, the gray ones are the bad ones who suck the color out of or who spray everything gray. And I was able to design all the buildings. And I'm showing this only to show you that this is not only designing characters or having one great idea. There are many things you have to think of when you are creating an entire world. And this is a screenshot from the world. From a plane. You could all as well drive or fly a plane.
Was it a 3D game?
It was a 3D game.
Okay.
And these are my sketches I did before. And this is the 3D game then. So everything was modeled after my sketches.
Okay. So did I get this right? This was the birth of the graphic style that you still use today, also for the kids' games?
Yes. Okay. It was because in this project I used the edgy lasso. Do you call it lasso?
Yes.
The edgy lasso in Photoshop. And till now, I'm drawing with a edgy lasso.
It's timeless.
Yeah, timeless. And some small things I had to design for the world. Some very quick mini games. So the task was sometimes to design one mini game in a day. So we had to think of a very quick solution. And I thought of all the old games I had played on the C64, for example, like the tower jump or other things. And there were several movie scenes, and these were animated cartoons, animated comics. So I did draw all the things, all the people, all the characters, everything for these small animated comics. And there was a camera flying over it. This was Colarelli, and this was then my favorite style. And I skip, I'm coming to an end.
Maybe you can show the Happy Hippos game.
Yeah, because you worked on it as well.
Exactly.
Maybe you can tell me better English, something about the game.
I don't know if that's true, but I try. These are two games that were created with the participation of Jan and me as well, which both of them are, again, franchises that are popular in Germany. One is Tabaluga, which is the picture on the right, a small dragon. And the left one is Happy Hippos from Ferrero, from the sweets manufacturer. And basically they were jump and run games. The left one has a pre-rendered sprite look, and the right one has, I think it was rendered as well, but it was with a comic renderer.
No, it wasn't rendered, I think.
Was it really hand-drawn, each animation?
It was. No, the characters were not. The characters were animated as 3D characters, but the background, were here, as you see it, created by drawing and scanning it and doing this.
Okay, can you zoom in on the bottom right image? Is it possible?
I hope so. One moment.
Because there you can see what I explained before when I talked about the trees, that we also had.
One moment. Yeah.
Yes, there it is. The trees were also composed out of tiles, and you were very limited in the look of the crown of the tree. And this is what I wanted to break up with the image I showed you before. This is the typically tiled look of games where I can basically see the grid of tiles aligned on the screen, and so each tree is perfectly straight and cannot vary in its thickness, stuff like that. And on the screenshot I showed you, the tree was straight as well, but I am already working on parts of the trees where it can have a twist in the trunk or turn to the left and stuff like that. Everything to break up this checkerboard look of the tiled map.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember, because you asked for anecdotes in the development, since the Ferrero are a sweet manufacturer company, and they provided us with lots of sweets during the development.
Yeah.
And at first, everyone was totally happy about this, and everyone started munching chocolate stuff all day. And then at the end of the production, nobody wanted to eat anything more because we just could not see it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all looked like happy hippos.
Exactly. Yeah. And since programmers, they basically live on sugar, it seemed like a good choice, but it was unbearable at the end of the production.
Yes. And I was not allowed to draw any happy hippo. So there was this Italian designer who designed all happy hippo stuff. And we were told when we have drawings, we have to send them to him and he will redraw everything. So we had him in the team as well. Yeah, he was very relaxed and said, you can draw anything with my happy hippos. But yeah, he had to redraw then everything for the cover and for the stories told in the game.
Yeah, and
only one last project. Then I will stop. This is my most famous game because it was downloaded 4 million times, I think.
Sorry.
And this is Brave Smart for every mobile designed. And the company I worked for was called or is called Flare Games. And this was one of the first games they brought out. And it's a little bit like Candy Crush. You have several, in this case, stones, and you can put them together to build a small house. And when you have 3 small houses, you can build a bigger house by putting them together. So we had several levels with Scottish villages. And this was, in Germany, we call it Wimmelbilder. When you see very much in the picture, when you have many things to explore with your eyes. Yeah, and that was the promotion, and the Scottish guy on the right was from a calendar I made as well for Flare Games.
And the next,
this was the only time I was employed, and all the other projects were done self-employed. And the next, yes.
Yes, the next. Now we have the transition to the Winterworks Kids games.
The evolution.
Yeah, and like Jan told you before, he stick to his art style since the Camelon game, and now he's doing most of the artwork for the Winterworks Kids games. And if you take the next one, you can see that the Winterworks Kids games have finally arrived in Japan. So if you know anyone in Japan, tell him to buy Winterworks Kids games on the Nintendo eShop, please. All right.
I think this is enough. I only have, after that, some projects that didn't work out.
Okay.
Or that had some interesting problems.
Was this Shaun of the Dead? No.
This was Shaun of the Dead.
Okay, if anyone knows the Shaun of the Dead movie, we were working on. Explain it, Jan. You know it better.
Okay, it's a handy game, and for the Nokia we designed this Shaun of the Dead game, and okay, we were they sent Ojom was, I think, the publisher, and they sent us the video of Shaun of the Dead and said, okay, make a game out of this stuff. So I took some characters out of the movie and put it on screens as dummy screens. And then they said, oh no, there's a slightly problem because we are not allowed to use the photos of the actors. So could you please redraw everything? So this was the first task. So I redrawed everything and we made a complete game with this comic style. But when they saw it, they said, no, that is not serious enough. We need, again, some more photorealistic things. So what I did is I took some people from the company, like Jörg, and made a zombie out of him. But I didn't find the screenshot with Jörg.
So, maybe I have it somewhere. I can send it later in the Discord channel. There's also me as a zombie character in that game.
And this is from, I'm not quite sure, from, I think, 2006 or 7. And I didn't find any bar in the internet that was fitting. So I visited my own pub around the corner and made photos there. And now it's immortalized in this small game.
Yeah, it was a funny project. It came with a lot of constraints. One thing was what Jan mentioned, that he constantly had to change the art style. Another thing was that the company that wanted this game to be produced, they insisted that we use a certain type of framework to create this game because they had technology running on different phones. And I was not the programmer on this game, but I know the programmer, and he just went crazy over this framework because it did not work out as he has wanted it. It was very limited, and it was a total pain in the ass to develop this game. But it was really fun, at least for all the non-programmers on this project.
Yeah, it was a kind of Moorhuhn game, if anyone still knows the Moorhuhn from the 90s. Famous German game originally for famous Kraus, a whiskey sold. And yes, it was a shooter game, and you could scroll from side to side. And yeah, this was similar to.
If you don't know the Shaun of the Dead movie, you should watch it. It's very funny. It's a Dawn of the Dead parody.
Yeah,
it was very popular during the time when we made the game. Okay.
It was.
Yeah, so as you've seen, Jan and me, we have a very vivid past in the gaming industry. And we hope to continue working together on a lot of games in the future.
Yeah,
all right.
I hope so too. Because this is a good thing about Jörg. When you work together with him, there are seldomly any problems. So when we are planning a new game, we have a call or only an email, and Jörg says, yeah, I would like to do a puzzle game, and yeah, gives me the pixel, the coordinates, and then I do a sketch, and he usually says, yeah, this looks fine, and I do the graphics, and yeah, this is the whole process. So yeah, it's very quick and efficient, and yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, one thing is that the things Jan does, they are fantastic, and of course there are always people who want to have full control over every part of any kind of production, but I know that Jan has been drawing stuff for 30 years now.
Yeah,
if you consider the fantasy comic that we saw earlier, and so it's just natural that he knows what he's doing. And of course, I have a picture in my mind how I want the games to look, but I also know that there's something that you call creative freedom, and so it's perfectly fine for me if Jan does what he does best and what he thinks is best for the games. Yeah, so yeah, it's working out very well. That's the reason why we managed to create 5 or 6 Switch games in 1 year. Yeah, and hopefully there will be more in the future.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Okay.
And new levels.
Yes. And yeah, I wanted to make this stream only 45 minutes, but I think we'll take the last 10 minutes, then we have 1 hour. So I can return and talk a bit more about Blue Kit. And I hope Jan stays with us. And
I will.
And I just put you on the bottom line. And yeah, I'm not sure if there have been any new questions. Video game adaptation of Shaun of the Dead, yes.
People are asking about Hurricane 2.
Yes. Maybe, let me see. I once created some mock-up of, because the thing is, the Hurricane 1 was, as I told you last time, was created over a time span of 5 years in my spare time. And the graphics were done by a friend of mine. And I don't know whenever it will be possible to do Hurricane 2 in the style of Hurricane 1, because then I would need my friend again for the graphic style, and he is employed working for another company. He's not in the gaming industry anymore. And so I was thinking about, what if I do a spiritual successor to Hurricane, which does not necessarily have the same look and or features the same story or be a direct sequel, but more, like I said, a spiritual successor, and do it in a pixel artwork style. And I did some mock-ups in the past of this. Maybe I can show them you later when I found them, and I post them in Discord channel. So unless there is a publisher who gives me a lot of money and says, do whatever you want and do a Hurricane 2, this is not going to happen. But I think the best chances for a Hurricane 2 are when Blue Kit 3 is finished, and I have enough income to work on another big project. And then maybe I'm going to create a pixel art style Hurricane type of game, which would be a step into the direction of the original Hurricane games, because they were only pixel artwork games back then. And some people didn't like the render look of Hurricane, even though I think it was quite good for the time back then. And especially when you consider the skills that we both had when we did the games, which were basically non-existent. I was just experimenting when I programmed the game, and Tom was not that. He was already a good artist, but he's way, way, way better now. Yeah, so Hurricane 2 will come someday in my life, but I cannot promise you when. And talking of the evolution of artwork, I'll just do the screen share thing again. And I'd like to switch back to the image I showed you, because there are some more things that I changed to the art style. Yeah, you cannot directly see it when you compare these two pictures. Maybe I have to look up a picture of the house, but what I've learned so far when I talked about you need a game to have a high readability, so you can distinguish foreground and background, then it sometimes makes sense that you use very little detail on background artwork. That's the reason why the bushes in the background, they have a lower contrast when comparing to the trees in the foreground, and they also are nearing towards the sky color. It's because it's just natural. If you look outside, things that appear more far, they fade into the sky color more and more. So that's one thing I want to achieve. And when you have a look at the ground, the ground on the left picture, you cannot see it, but I think people who are watching the stream, they know how the screenshots look. It was very much more detailed with more smaller stones and stuff like that. And on the right, you see bigger stones and more planes of the same color, like on the grass. This is something that on the one side just saves me a lot of work, because I don't have to pixel that much detail. And on the other side, it makes the game more readable, which is very, yeah, which is more important than how the game looks on a static screenshot, in my opinion. The same goes for the clouds. They were like this from the beginning on. You have a lot of planes with the same color, just with little to no detail. But yeah, when you compose all of this stuff and do the color shading, like the bushes in the background, and you put it all together, because the clouds themselves, they look totally boring when you look at them, just the clouds alone. But when you put them into a scene with a lot of parallax layers, then all comes together as one final picture. Yeah, I've talked about the outline before. Yeah, that's what I did. And yeah, another thing, now it comes to the part that I mentioned as the evolution. I've been doing pixel artwork for many years now, and but only for the last 1 or 2 years, after I made up a mind about the new artwork, my artwork has really evolved a lot. I learned a lot of stuff from people like Thomas Feichtmeier, who is called Sian Moglu on Twitter. I hope I pronounced this right. The guy behind Oldboy, he's a fantastic artist. And sometimes you need to take a step back. And even if you think I've been doing this for 10 years now, you still need to pick up the role like a pupil and say, I'm going to start learning things basically from scratch again, have a new, fresh look on things, and only then your skills can improve. So yeah, I hope you like the new artwork. You can play, you can leave some feedback on our Discord channel if you like. There will be more coming in the future. I'm going to rework all the stuff that you already know, like the house graphics, the interior of the house, and the snow world, stuff like that, and the blob enemy. And I've also started, yeah, like I told you, reworking all the technical stuff of the game engine. And I just stopped the share. So I hope there will be more progress in less time than in the past. So yes, there's a question if I've checked the LxKit Remastered. Yes, I did. I like the game, but what the problem with the game, in my opinion, is on one side. Of course, you can switch between the old and the new look, which is a nice feature. But the controls, they just stay the same, like with the Wonder Boy 3 remake. I find the controls of LxKit a bit, what's the right word? Clumsy, maybe. And when the character lands, he does this small dodge animation, which feels a bit weird because it feels like you're bouncing off the ground or something like that. And if the developers are watching or watching in the future this stream, one thing that is extremely important that I'm going to share with you in another developer tip as well is what I call button or input buffering. So when you press the jump button and the character jumps, and you release the button while the character is still in the air, and shortly before he lands, you press again, but he did not land yet. So you buffer the input that in the moment he lands, he just jumps off directly afterwards. But in LxKit, you can only press the jump button when you're on the ground again. You cannot press it half a second before and keep it pressed, so he jumps again, which totally kills the flow of the jumping in many platform games. So the button input buffering is very important. You know this maybe from fighting games or from games like like Legend of K, or from The Legend of Zelda, where you can do different kinds of combinations when you're fighting. That the game, you don't have to press the button at the exact right time, but it buffers 2 or 3 inputs. You do press the button 3 times, and he does the whole combination. You don't have to wait until the first move finishes to press the new button. They do this in fighting games a lot. And this also helps in platforming games, and LxKit does not have this mechanic, but it should, because it makes a platforming game much more fluid. But the art style is fantastic, in my opinion. I really like it. A control feature of the Blue Kit games that were great for dodging. I don't really know what you mean with that. Maybe you can explain it a bit more, and I answer another question. Why do developers often change the whole art direction? Yeah, on the one side, you have the phenomenon that Jan was talking about, that the company in charge says, we don't like how the game looks, you need to make another art look. That's one thing. Another thing is that when you work on a game for a long time, then you personally evolve in what you're doing, and in the end of the production, you're always better than you were in the beginning. And then you take a look at all your old work and you say, this does not fit to the rest of the game that we've created in the past 2 or 3 months, and we need to rework stuff from the beginning. That's something that happens a lot. Yeah, I don't want to spoil all the developers' tips here that we're going to post in the future, but another one came just to my mind that has something to do with that. But yeah, maybe there are other reasons why people change their art style. The reasons why I did it, I explained it before. It's just the main reason is because of the readability of the game and the playability, which is more important than a promotional screenshot, in my opinion. Because I've never been that much of a marketing guy. I want to make games that play great, and of course they should sell great, but other people are more concerned about the marketing aspect of games, and they want the screenshots to look nice, which of course they should look nice, but the outline around the character is very important, in my opinion, for the BlueKit games at least. And yeah, how is BlueKit development doing? Maximiliano, did you write me a lot of emails in the past? Is that you? I received, I think they were from you. I don't remember the name. Yeah, like I said, development is coming along nicely, but it's very slow at the moment, because on the one side I have to make money with the kids games, because at the moment there's nobody paying for the development of BlueKit, and I need to split up my time, 50% doing kids games for earning money and 50% working on the game. And since I'm doing all the stuff myself, it really takes a lot of time. But now that I finally decided to stick with that art style, at least for the next 1 or 2 years maybe, I can really start producing final artwork for the game. Okay, it wasn't you. The name was not similar, but it was something like that. Okay. The immediate jumping after landing was something I've noticed in the first BlueKit. Yeah, really great for split-second jumps. Yeah, exactly. I've been using this input buffering for many years now. Some games they really allow you that you jump, you let loose, and you can keep the jump button pressed, and it jumps all the time, which I don't like personally. In my opinion, you need to release it one time and then press it again before he lands to have that input buffering. That's, in my opinion, the perfect way to do it. Okay, but now we're closing to 1 hour streaming time, and yeah, we skipped the last 2 weeks. At the first show, I said we want to do this on a weekly base. At the moment, we're not quite sure if we do it on a 2 weekly base or dynamically, but we are trying to announce the streams as soon as possible. And there will be more streams in the future. I just cannot promise now that the next one will be next week. Okay, so I hope you liked it this time. And yeah, see you next time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. And thanks, Jan, for
yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
See you.